Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Players Experience Podcast. On today's episode, we are welcoming in former pro women's hockey player Angela James. We're going to talk with Angela about her career, the challenges that she faced growing up playing hockey, what it was like to get into the collegiate level, and challenges kind of throughout her entire career, but overcoming those challenges, really succeeding in hockey, and now her role as the GM for the Toronto 6 pro women's hockey team with the PHF. With that, before we bring Angela on, though, we want to, of course, thank our production team for all the work that they do each and every episode to make it as great as it is. As well, a big shout out to our sponsors. Make sure to use the discount code Players Experience to get yourself something nice using that code. As well, guys, if you haven't done it yet, it's time to subscribe to the channel. We're back with episodes, so we're excited to have you join and join along the ride. So hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you're aware of any new episodes that come. Now, without further ado, let's bring Angela on to talk about her hockey career and what it's like to really grow in hockey and set a landmark and a milestone for women's hockey players to come. Hey, Angela, how's it going today?
Good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show. How are things going?
Yeah, things are going. In the middle of a storm right now outside, but things are really good. Just finishing off a nice party last night here for my birthday. So that was a bit of a surprise, but things are going really well.
That's great. Well, hey, happy birthday. Hope it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a fantastic one.
Awesome. Well, let's just hop right into it. I know you have a hectic schedule. So the first question I wanted to ask you was, you got into the sport of hockey at a young age. How did the path of hockey begin for you, opposed to wanting to play another sport like baseball, for example?
Well, you know what? Funny enough, Ryan, I did play a lot of baseball, a lot of softball in my younger days, and when I wasn't playing hockey, I was playing softball. So I was, and if I wasn't playing softball, I'd be swimming. I would be doing all kinds of sports as a young girl. I didn't really just stay with hockey as much as hockey was my love. In terms of opportunities to go play on the sheets of ice up on the pathways and the outdoor arenas, and lots of opportunities there. I loved playing hockey, but I also loved playing softball, swimming. I was a synchronized swimmer, and not for very long, but hockey definitely was my love.
That's great. And you were definitely good at it. We're going to get into some of the highlights and some of the challenges as well. But I want to talk about a challenge first. It was a challenge for you to grow up playing hockey through not only your background and your race, but the fact that there wasn't too many women's hockey teams around when you were growing up. What was it like for you to go through those challenges and then find yourself on the Newton Brooks Saints when you were 13 and just know that you would eventually overcome the barriers, really?
Well, I was very fortunate that I did have hockey back then. There wasn't a lot of women's hockey, and so I had to play above my age group. Growing up in Flemington Park, it was a pretty tough neighborhood, and it was also an easy neighborhood to get into a lot of trouble. So the fact that I had hockey as an outlet at that age, and it didn't matter to me who I was playing against. I just really loved the game. Was a true benefit to myself to stay the course sort of thing in life.
What was the biggest opening for you, once you got on the Saints and really got into hockey? What was the highlight moment for you at that point?
Well, I was able to play with my best friend. That was a lot of fun. Carol Boyle at the time, Carol Law. And so, we always hung out and had fun together. And, she was older than me, so she was able to get me to the games because, my mother didn't drive. But the Newtonbrook Saints were really a lot of fun. And that was probably my first introduction of going and meeting new people outside my neighborhood and getting to know different people in the world, that it wasn't just in Flemington Park.
No, and that's great. And I bet, like, we know how much those transit sucks in Toronto now. I can't imagine what it was like back then.
Well, yeah, um, we were just, actually, if it wasn't for my oldest sister getting me on the transit and taking me where I needed to go throughout my whole hockey career, I probably wouldn't have even had one, because I wouldn't have been able to make the games. But yeah, Newton Brook was local as well. So it wasn't as bad. And, they're a very established league at the time. And the players there had been playing a little longer than when I first started with Annunciation, where it was more, some girls had figure skates on. So when I left the boys hockey and started in girls hockey, it was a great transition.
Oh, and that's awesome. And like once you got to the collegiate level, you became a two-sport athlete for Seneca when you joined their softball team, because you mentioned you played softball, and also the hockey team. In hockey, you led the league in scoring during the 1982-83 season, when you would also be named the OCAA MVP. What was that season like for you to put in that time and effort and really see it pay off?
Well, yeah, when I first was offered to go to Seneca College, back then, I didn't even realize that there was school after high school. So that's how much I was pretty naive and really not knowing too much about the world. If it wasn't for my friend Mary Zettel, who recruited me to go to Seneca College. And at the time when she asked me to go to Seneca College, I was actually playing softball against her. So when she started telling me a little bit about it, and I thought I could go play ball, and she goes, "Oh, we also have hockey." So I think she knew what she was doing. I certainly didn't know what I was doing, but it was just up the street from where we lived at the time, which was Shaughnessy, and the Newnham campus was right there. So it was easy. It was an easy fit for me to say yes and go and be, at the time, a scout. That's what we were called. They're now the Sting. And yeah, I had 3 great years at Seneca College as a athlete, playing both ball, softball, playing ice hockey, but also officiating in the intramural programs and playing all intramurals. I don't think I went to class at all. All I did was play sports. It was just right up my alley, and I was pretty happy about that.
Hey, you know what? Me and you both. I went to Seneca too before I went to Durham College. I was there for 2 years for a college vocational program. And I may have missed a couple classes or two as well when they put the pool table in the main hall by the cafeteria. It was like winter just kept playing, and there was one day I just kept rolling, and I was like, "Oh, class was half an hour ago." So
Yeah. Yeah, like if it wasn't for the staff at Seneca College, I would not have graduated. I know I just was having too good of a time with all my friends, and as we got into the course a little bit, I really enjoyed it. And funny enough, I ended up working in the field for 35 years as a facility operator. So, you know what, things kind of work in your favor in the long run.
definitely. Now, you would eventually play in 4 World Championship tournaments, as well as 2 Three Nation Cups and an IIHF Women's Pacific Rim Championship, all from about 1990 to 1999, winning gold at every single event. How was it for you to see your continued dedication to the sport pay off, and which event out of all those had to be your favorite one?
Well, it's a pretty loaded question, Ryan.
I don't know what the
I'll try and do it. It's 10:30 in the morning. Um, yeah, I think that I was very, very fortunate to win gold all the way through, and it wasn't without adversity. We had some adversity through there, but we had some really good teams. We had some awesome hockey players that really brought it all the time when we needed it, and kudos to the teams back then. They continued to grow and continued to get better and better, and just better coaching, better preparation. I think that's key. Better equipment, better sticks. The sticks today, these guys are using 20 flex, I think, and just shooting the puck like anything. But back then, we played with a lot of heart, and not to say that they're not playing with a lot of heart, but these guys have a lot of opportunity now to grow our sport and make it better. And the great thing is the exposure of the women's game back then. That's just branched off into so many areas, whether it was just the organizations, the universities, both in Canada, US, and Europe. Hopefully Europe's catching on. The European game is growing. It still has to get better, but I don't really think that we want them to get that much better, because they're going to start beating us. Like everybody's like, oh, US final, oh, Canada final. We can't keep doing this. Yeah, we can. Like, I get it, but we've got some Europeans now that are coming to North America. They're going to the NCAAs, they're going to the CISs. So we're all kind of mixing up, no different than the men's hockey. And the growth of the women's game is just phenomenal. I think that the attitudes and the wants and of our game and development is key. You're seeing some pretty special hockey players being developed and having an impact on our game and the youth and the children, and the dreams the seeds are being planted, and I think that's key for both young girls and boys to see great hockey being played.
No, and that's so true. Like, just even looking over the last few years, I know COVID obviously put a damper on things, but just seeing the development of from 2017, 2018 to now, and how much more growth there is with women's sport and with women's hockey.
Yeah. Well, you're involved in it, so
yeah. Now, after the majority of those tournaments ended in 1998, I want to talk about the Nagano Games. That would see the first women's Olympic hockey team form, and along that with Canada's first team being announced in 1997, just a year before that. Through that came some controversy as you were left off the roster for those games. I wanted to see if you could speak about that scenario and what really went through your mind about doing so well with the games and then unfortunately being left off the roster, and what the mindset of not only yourself but your hockey teammates were going through that decision.
Well, Ryan, back then, there was a lot of unknowns, and there had to be some decision making, and the way I look at it is people want to have their own mark on things that they do, whether it's coaching, administrating, or whatever. And so their direction is their direction, and there's not a whole lot that you can do it. So as an athlete myself, there's nothing I could have done. It said that coach at the time made their decision. This was the direction that they wanted to go in. They felt that they picked the best team, and that was it. I've had senior administrations tell me that they wanted to go into a new direction. What direction that was, I have no idea. The fact that I was left off, that was their decision. Of course, at the time I was heartbroken, and they went into the Olympics and they lost to the US that year. There's no way that they should have, but it wasn't just that situation that year. For myself, was the only situations and adversities that the team was having to overcome. So that was the key, is that, you know, you needed to have good leadership in there to make sure that those kinds of adversities were you were able to cope with and deflect and understand. And I think that those were some of the reasons why we lost that year. The fact that, and I remember always my good friend Geraldine Heaney's father, Mike Heaney, said, "Listen, Ange, you should have been there, but I'll tell you, I don't think that anything that you could have did would have helped this team." So, you know, that I think that says a lot. And, you know, yeah, it was very hurtful. You know, I was fighting some things back there as well. I had Graves' disease, and I didn't even know it, because back then they didn't really do a lot of checking on the athletes. You know, like, did you get your blood work done? No, I'm not going to get my blood work done. I'm just going to go and continue to train and do this. You know, but that's still no excuse. And, you know, like if it was, you know, as you're coaching now, when you have athletes that have been there and then, you know, have to go down to maybe the third or fourth line, you know, can they do it or can't they do it? Well, you know, today's world, you're going to communicate that with the athlete. You know, is your role's this, your role isn't this anymore. If that were the case, nothing was said. So, but moving on, ended up with having 3 kids after that, a great life, you know, so many turnarounds in terms of accolades, and just a beautiful journey with my family, and as a result, and I'm still at that time I had a hate for the game, but I was able to get it back, and my love of the game still stays today.
No, and thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really just important to talk about the diversity in sport, because a lot of times you don't see that like in media, right? And so it's important to share these stories and really highlight the diversities and the issues that may be around the game, no matter what sport, what league, whoever's involved, right? So, and talking about leaving your mark, you certainly left your mark, because I want to go back to the 1999 Three Nations Cup, where you were given a chance to join the team, which you did. And not only did you win gold, but you were the difference maker, scoring the winning goal to lead Canada to a 3-2 victory in the shootout. After everything that took place with Nagano and what you just explained, what was it like for you to, again, make your mark and really show that true statement of your ability and your passion for the game?
Well, funny enough, at the time, after Nagano, I believe Shannon Miller was no longer the coach, and Mel Davidson was the coach. And at the time, Mel Davidson brought me back for one kick at the can, just to see if I still had it. But I think Mel knew that my heart wasn't in it anymore. But she did give me the opportunity, and I thank her for that. So that was the Pacific Rim, I think it was, up in Quebec City. And Christian, my oldest, was just born. He was only 6 months, and so he was there. And it was a really great crowd, and you know, it was a great way to go out. And I wasn't really getting a whole lot of ice, but at the end for the shootout, Mal put me out as one of the shooters. Went out, and you know, I was lucky enough to score a goal in that. That was great. It was that was it. I was packing it in. I couldn't. My heart couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't go like back and forth and you know, not knowing, you know, the direction of Team Canada and what they were doing and so on. So I just kind of packed it in, went back to Toronto, and played with the Arrows at the time. And I think we were playing some national teams and stuff, and just having fun with the game again. I was really glad that Ken Dufton and Colin McKenzie convinced me to stay with it. That was our club team, and we had a very good club team. And yeah, and then, you know, that was it. But just having my 6-week-old son there at the game, and knowing very well that there was life after hockey, I think that's what was key for me, Ryan.
Well, it's also all about the experiences too, right? With sport, and when you think like your time's coming up in a career, you want to reflect on all the positives, right? And when we look back at your career, a lot of individuals look up to, again, one another, whether it's NHL players, women's hockey players, whoever it might be, and they want to be someone to strive for. You were referred to as the Wayne Gretzky of women's hockey during your time. How does it make you feel knowing you have left such a huge legacy in the game of hockey for women to come down the road?
Well, you know what, when it was first happening, I probably didn't understand it. And then afterwards, I realized that it was a responsibility because it just kept coming at me and coming at me and coming at me. And it wasn't just the hockey, but it was just diversity. It was inclusion. It was BIPOC community. It was so many different errors that were coming together to in terms of inclusivity. And as for myself, I think being there, gone through it, being at the top of the game, now it's my responsibility as a leader, as a role model for the young girls, but more importantly, to set up a system and an opportunities where the young girls can achieve to, but also be able to dream. And I think that's the key is young kids, young girls, and boys, they just want to dream. You know, like I always remember my oldest son, you know, as a peewee, and I tell this story all the time, you know, coming home and he's in the front seat and he's playing AE and he's asking, you know, wouldn't it be just awesome if he went #1 draft overall? And to be saying that, playing AE, was this, you know, an interesting thing and phenomenal things. And of course, you know, like I'm not going to burst this bubble on that dream. And I think that every young kid has a right to dream. And yeah, so as I grew and went through a lot of different things, and anytime there was a platform that you could advocate for women's hockey, that's what I was doing.
Awesome. I just have a couple more questions for you. I can't go without asking about your work now outside of being on the ice or behind the scenes a little bit as the general manager of the Toronto Six of the Premier Hockey Federation. What's it like for you to go from being on the ice to being behind a team, but really working to see the continued success of women's hockey in the market and really putting, again, a mark on putting a product out there?
Yeah, so you know, being a part of the Toronto Six is actually another dream come true, and I didn't even know I was dreaming about it, so to speak. But it's funny enough because I was coaching my daughter with the North York Storm during COVID, and we were able to continue during COVID, and we were doing, you know, some skill sessions, and I would see at the rink over at Canland York these players outside, and they were called the Toronto Six, and I'm like, Toronto Six, oh, I love that name. Like I'm a true Torontonian. I was born and raised in Toronto. So I said, oh, and then I recognized and I saw some, you know, I think I saw Mandy Cronin at the time. She was managing, and I just kind of did my thing. But, you know, I just kind of kept an eye on things on it and just wondering what it was. And it was just in its infancy. And later that summer, I had a call from Digit Murphy and asking me, she was involved. And years ago, I took a junior team down and we played Brown University, and Digit was the coach there. And so we got talking. I was camping up in, I can't even remember where I was camping. And she said, you know, are you interested in maybe joining our association? And I said, I just retired, Digit. Like I've only been retired 2 weeks. I need some time here. So anyway, we got to talking and that, and she kind of introduced me to the organization, And then I didn't really hear back. And then I heard and it said, oh, that they wanted to go in a different direction. I'm not even going to say that direction because that might irritate people, but it was men. Anyway, so later, again, I was at a friend's cottage. I got a call from Mark Joslin. Mark said, hey, Ange, I've just been given this team, Toronto Six, and I'd like you to come aboard. So I said, yeah, you know what? Perfect timing, Mark. I said, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, and nothing like the T6. I said, I've been watching it, and I've talked to Digit, and I think, yeah, I'd like to join. So worked with Mark. Mark was a great coach. We did a lot of really good things. I learned a lot as well. As an assistant coach. I love that position, by the way. I wouldn't trade that for anything. And we had a really great year last year. We ran into some issues, a little bit of hiccups going down to Florida with COVID. We got hit pretty bad, but we had a fantastic team last year, and we have a fantastic team this year. So going then from GM, which is really uncharted territory for me within hockey, but not uncharted territories for me as a sport administrator, because that's what I did for 35 years. So the whole concept of business and organization and accommodations and things like that as part of the GM role was easy for me. The fact that we had $1 million cap in Canadian funds, that was all new, and try and distribute, bring players in, negotiate, talk, about our program. So it was difficult because I was trying to increase the operation structure and the facilities and the program structure on one hand, and then increase the talent and the salaries, which was phenomenal for me to be able to give girls, women, salaries of close to $1 million this past season. And I was just delighted because, when I played, we were lucky if we didn't have to pay. And that was a special as well, that we didn't have to pay. But the fact that the girls have sticks and skates and locker rooms and facilities and benefits and all of those things coming into this year. And I know that you've heard the news next year, those salaries are even doubled. So we're going to be close to $2 million Canadian that we can distribute to the players. And that's only going to increase the talent pool and increase the organization and the whole PHF as a whole. They're in the same boat, and we're only going to get better and better in talent. But with that comes expectations as well from the players. But the support system that they have around, we want to make it as seamless as possible and as easy as possible for them to do their job, to get better every day, and to be able to bring it.
Oh, and that's great. And what's the best part about fans coming to a T6 game, would you say?
Well, is the hockey. The hockey is very good. We've had some NHL guys come and watch, and junior guys come and watch, and they are very, very impressed. And it only takes that. And then with the young girls to come and aspire to be one of those T6 players, and of course, Kipling the bear. Like, who doesn't like a bear, right?
Exactly. Well, hey, for everyone watching, come out to the T6 games. We're back this year, so come out and help support, because that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. We're at Canlan, York. For the most part, our home games are Saturday and Sunday at 2:00, and as well as you can catch it on ESPN and TSN Direct. So if you want to be a T6 fan, I would personally come out and autograph anything you need if I can get you in the building.
That's awesome. And Ange, my last question for you is, what would your words of advice be for the next generation of young hockey players that want to make a name for themselves whether it's young girls in sport, young boys in sport or hockey, what would your words of advice be?
Well, definitely work hard. Take advantage of every opportunity that you get. Um, I think that play multiple sports, diverse yourself, because when you go back into the rink, if you're on the ice, 25 hours a week, 30 hours a week, you're going to plateau. You're going to just be even kill. You've got to be hungry for that, for what you're getting. So go out, play some soccer, play some baseball, play something else, that you enjoy outside of hockey. Yeah, do your skill development, do your sessions, but diversify yourself and have fun. Don't put pressure on yourself and just work hard. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But keep working hard and dream big.
Angela, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. I really appreciate it. And all the best with the T6 for the rest of the season.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me.